Pam, it's you who are misguiding people. Etsy is a volume game, so don't misguide people how selling your type of product can pay people's rent. Oh, and something about me sitting on my granny's chair, creating things, right? I got this comment on one of my videos, and I wanted to jump in and give some hard facts. I hope I'm not misguiding, misleading people. When I make my videos, obviously I can't cover every single point in every single video, so some points will be missed if you only watch one video. And this was talking about where I was explaining how you need to you're not making as much money on print on demand as you think you are because of just the costs and the level of profit compared to some art things. So it can look like print on demand is the way to go. It's what you absolutely have to do on Etsy. And it can be slightly misleading that the biggest chunk of videos on Etsy are biggest chunk of videos on YouTube talking about Etsy. Most of the things you see are going to be people talking about print on demand. And there's reasons for that. It's because it's a way people are clicking on it because you're able to say, hey, I sold so much things. But one thing I do try and cover in most of my videos is that most people won't be able to pay their rent from their Etsy shop. That is, whether you're a print-on-demand company or your Etsy shop or you're making your own artwork or whatever, most people won't be able to pay their rent from their Etsy shop. And I want to be honest about this because I love Etsy. And I know some people do. Some people do fantastic, but at the same time, think about acting. I use this a lot. Some actors make tens of millions of dollars for a single movie. Most people who are into acting do not have it even as their career. Most people are bit actors, do little group things once a week, do pantomimes or little community shows and things. The vast majority of people who are actors are not making tons of money. So I think most of us are realistic that if you want to be an actor, you're probably going to have to work as something else to make the most of your money. And I don't think it's realistic for most people to say, what do you want to do to pay your mortgage, pay your bills, keep your family fed? Oh, I want to run an Etsy shop. I'm going to say that most people should not be thinking of that. Now, you might be able to sell your art, you might be able to sell your print on demand or something as your full-time business, but it's going to take a while to build up, and it's most of you watching, it will not happen from just your Etsy shop alone. It's going to take more than that, and it's not going to be as quick as you think. Now, there are people who come on shouting at me saying, yes, it is. It's worked for me. Fantastic. You are doing great. But if 100 people copied exactly what you did at the same time as you, possibly only one would have made it. You have obviously had skills and ability and graft, but also the secret that we can't account for, there's a little bit of luck. Etsy picks and chooses, it can't show everybody all at once. So out of all those 100 shops, it sort of has to rotate who they're showing to who. And there's a bit of luck that your listing got shown in front of the right people. And because it got shown in front of the right people just at the right time, you got a sale when one of your competitors didn't get a sale. So then you got a better review. So your shop experience score, whatever they're calling it these days, that's increased. So you've done really well. You set yourself up great by having great skills and everything, but you also had a little bit of luck. So yeah, nobody can say, this is what I did, it will work for you. That most people, it doesn't work. So basically, let's get real with this. All the top advice out there is misguiding people. That is because it's not even the fault of the gurus or whatever else. The top videos, the top blogs, the top, even, what Eatsy's promoting and stuff are generally unrealistic. That's not Etsy issue or anything else. That's the same everywhere. If you watch some training on how to be an actor, you're going to be trained on people who've done fantastically as being actors. It's what you want to watch. You don't want to watch the realistic thing of the day-to-day life of someone who works as a waitress for 10 years and occasionally gets a bit part in the blurry third exit of a 2-second clip in a movie or something. It's just how things are. But I want to pull up some of the real data out there so you can have a realistic vision of what is normal. It's not to put you off. I think Eatsy's great. I think if you stand up and you say, I want to be self-employed, I want to run a small business, that's a great goal and you can do it. I'll just, as a little aside, when I was in industry, we were we got lots of trainings in for a lot of things. I was a chemical engineer and we had to come up with ideas for improving things all the time. Basically, my job was to have ideas. And we had one business leader came in and taught us, and it was a fantastic little presentation. It was a fantastic training day. And basically, he was telling us of all your big business people, all the people at the top, they have 7 failures for every win. And that was, I found that really inspiring. It was like, you do something, it's not necessarily going to succeed, but it doesn't mean you have to quit. I've done several different things that did okay at certain points of time. To explain, I was a chemical engineer. That didn't work out because massive recession. I was, what came next? I was a driving instructor. That didn't work out because if you lose your job because of a recession and you move into something that everybody else is moving into because of the recession, saturation. So I did that for a few years. And then I've been a dog trainer and I've been building up my Etsy business and doing a YouTube and helping out at eRank. And I've done some work as a contractor for Etsy. So I've done lots of things. And I won't say I've failed any of them. As a chemical engineer, I learned a lot about running tests, coming up with ideas, dealing with business people. That was really cool. As a driving instructor, I learned about teaching people, which has been super helpful here. I learned to do my own accounts and things like that, which has saved me tons of money. As a dog trainer, again, teaching the psychology of how people learn, that, well, how dogs learn, but how people, because to be a dog trainer you actually have to know how to teach people. So that was helpful for what I'm doing here. So I've taken a little bit from everything I'm doing. I've learnt from every step, so nothing's been a failure. And also a lot of them have overlapped. I was a dog trainer and a driving instructor at the same time. I was a dog trainer and running my Etsy shop at the same time. And things have overlapped. And then it makes it easier if things just stop working because of whatever reason. Quite often it's because I've got the attention span of a small critter and new shiny things. So yeah, if you're like me as well, it's good to know that you can do lots of things because your income doesn't have to be from one big thing. Your income can be from lots of tiny pots, and there's good and bad to that. I'm going to say it might be good if you can focus on one thing and go all in. You have a bigger chance of learning better and doing better, but all your eggs are in one basket. So for me, it works to have little pots of things. Anyway, let's get into some of the things. So the latest data I can find, I went around and searched everything. This is a reporting from Fundera. It was in about 2020, but nothing's changed. I'll explain. But about 80% of businesses with employees will survive their first year in business. So that's 20% of businesses with employees will fail in their first year. About 70% will survive their second year. About 50% will survive their fifth year. And only about 30% of businesses will make it to their 10th year. And I know that sounds like ages away, but it just tells you how many are failing. And this is businesses with employees. So this is people that have had an idea and really built up for it. And this was research done over years and years, regardless of the economic factors of that year, of that time period. This has been the same. This is pretty much what I was being taught 20 years ago in my business classes. So this hasn't changed. The vast majority of businesses that start up are really not going to make it 5 years. And this is big, sensible people who've gone in and pitched to their bank to get enough money to start a business. They've probably got premises, they've done something big. But a CB Insights analysis of 101 startup polls found the reason why these businesses failed, according to the founders. So this, I've never seen the reasons why they fail, which was really cool. So 42% of small businesses fail because there's no market need for their service or products. So they did bad market research. 29, but this is self-reported as well. So this is what they think. 29% failed. That's nearly a third failed because they ran out of cash. So yeah, that's another thing. When you say a business lasted 3 years before it failed, that doesn't mean they were doing well for 3 years. They did well for their first year. It just means they had enough in the bank because they were sensible enough to know they weren't going to be profitable in their first year. Quite a lot aren't. 23% failed because they didn't have the right team running the business. I do find that funny because these are self-reported. You're the team running the business. 19% were out-competed. Yeah, I think quite a lot of these are excuses. This is what the founders feel happened, but it is, there can be a lot of competition, but you can stand out for your competition. 18% failed because of pricing and cost issues. A big thing, you've done your market research and you see how much similar things are selling for, so you try and sell for that. But your big competition, they probably have agreements with suppliers and they get things cheaper. So you trying to sell for the same price might not actually work. 17% failed because of a poor product offering. I think fantastically honest. Yeah. And I think this is actually a big deal for Etsy sellers. I know this is different. This is businesses with employees. We'll get into different types of businesses. A lot of people are now jumping on and going, I'm going to do Etsy, I'm going to make money. And you go, what are you going to sell? I don't know, I'll figure that out. If you don't know what you're going to sell, you don't have a business idea yet. So if you're just jumping on and going, oh, I'll find out what sells well and I'll just make that, that's a poor product offering. That's a sucky way to start up business. 17% failed because they lacked a business model. Very similar thing. Yeah. If you create something and you love it and you've been making it for years and everyone you give it to loves it and you go, okay, I'll maybe see about selling this, you've got a good chance of doing well. You've got a good product. You don't necessarily have a great business model because we're artists, but you say to yourself, okay, here's my idea. Now, having a poor product, having a poor business model also means you haven't figured out, you've just watched a few videos that say, quit your day job on Etsy here. It's so easy. Look, if you sell 100 things, this is how much money you'll make. But they don't say that most people aren't going to sell 100 things in a very quick time at all. Most shops get their first sale within their first 6 months. That's the truth of it. So if you've done better than that, you're already ahead of the curve. So you see people saying, "Oh, I only made 20 sales this month, and is it because I'm a new shop?" No, you're doing fantastic. You might not want to hear that, but any business, it's very unlikely you're going to start your business and be massively profitable straight away. Let's be realistic about it. If you don't have enough money to live on for the next 6 months, for the next year, don't put all your eggs into the Etsy basket. Your business model should be expecting to not make money for a while. So what's your other way what is going to be your other income? This could mean that you keep on at the job you're doing. You say, my plan, I'm going to keep on at this job for 6 months. I'm going to keep on at this job for a year. I'm going to keep on at this job until this business metrics happen. And then I'll perhaps move to a part-time job. Don't give up everything. 14% failed because of poor marketing. Yeah, that's a biggie. I'm surprised it's not more. 14% failed. Here's an honest one. Failed because they ignored their customers. I have made a whole video about don't treat the customers as an enemy. Your customers are precious. This doesn't mean the customer's always right. You've got to bend over backwards and be amazing. But if your customer comes to you and said that I broke this when I was opening it because your boxes were awful, or it got crushed in shipping or something, don't sit back and go, not my problem. Sit back and say, what can I take from that? I had that. I used to send out my bookmarks in padded bubble mailers. And some people said, okay, your item wasn't damaged. I just want to let you know that the bubble mailer got chewed up in the post. I'm like, well, that's not a good experience for my customer. Doesn't cost a whole lot more to put them in nice boxes. So I changed to nice boxes because I listened to my customer. Okay, but anyway, this is about businesses with employees. I decided to dig a bit deeper and see if there was more research, and there was. So, a research project completed by Forbes, Huffington Post, and Marketing Signals found, wait for this, 90% of all e-commerce online only businesses fail within the first 120 days of launch. 90%. So take that in. If you're still open and it's been 6 months, you're doing good already. And I think we're going to get into what the business owners surveyed, what they said they thought were their reasons. I see the number one reason why Etsy businesses fail is expectations. You think it's going to be so easy because you've been misled, and I'm trying not to mislead you. 1,253 failed business owners took part in the research. And here are the 10 common reasons for failure for online only. So 37% was poor online marketing and 35% was lack of online search visibility. So that's the biggest chunk. That's like nearly 3/4 of the people who started up an e-commerce business and the ones that failed. It's because they weren't getting seen. They weren't getting customers to find them. That's the tricky thing. That's what's the struggle. We don't know about marketing. We don't know about search visibility, SEO, all these things when we start up. So if we don't have already a good following, we need to be able to bring it in through SEO, through people finding us, either through paid adverts or from search visibility, organic search. And it's tricky. It takes time. I mean, if you're going with Google, it can take weeks, months, even longer to even show up in Google. With Etsy, it can be a bit quicker, but your competition's pretty harsh. 35% said there was little or no market for their products or services. Again, this is self-reported. It can be an issue, but I think you can sell most things if you are being honest. Now, market research is not, this annoys the life out of me. Market research is 100% not looking at what's selling best for somebody else and trying to copy it. No. Because then how are you going to get seen? They already have the advertising and the SEO tied up for that. How are you going to get seen? How are you going to stand out? Why is somebody going to click on yours if it's the same as somebody else's and that somebody else has thousands of great reviews? Why should they buy from you? Oh, you can make it cheaper. Well done. 32% say they failed because they ran out of cash. There you go. If you try and and unless you have very, very big pockets, you can't do an Amazon and chase all the bigger guys out there by out competing them. That's what Timu's doing just now as well. It's not a sustainable business model for most of us. And in reality, if you throw your money at out competing the people you're copying, once you've killed them off, once you've beat them, who are you going to copy? It's not a sustainable business model. 29% said they failed because of price and costing issues. Yep. Guys, figure out how much things need to cost. Look at how much your fees are going to be. Look at how much your raw materials are or your processing costs. Look at how much your adverts are going to be. I see this every single week in the forums and stuff. People go, I've had my first sale, but why am I only getting this much? I'm not going to make any money from that. Yeah, the advice is all out there. You can see it on Etsy how much it costs. You have to figure this out. And no foul there. We all make mistakes. You just have to eat it and say, okay, I can't afford to charge it at that price. 23% said they got out competed. Competition is a thing, but if you're trying to make the same as everybody else, you have competition. If you are making something, if you are making your own niche, if you are the coolest of something that's slightly different, if you're the great person doing a thing, then you can stand out as something different and you don't have the same amount of competition. There's still competition. I mean, I was the first and still one of the only with the splat bookmarks. That was my idea that I dreamt up. And my paperclip but sploot bookmarks. That's another thing. People come along and try and copy me, but yeah, I'm already there. So I can't be out competed as such. And my friend Starla, when she used to do her Art by Starla, her jewelry store, she owned the market for her skeleton key necklaces. So we've made our own space. Now, are we out competed in bookmarks or necklaces? Absolutely. But that's not the thing. We are a more specific niche. So you can reduce your competition. Yes, you reduce your potential market as well, but it's much easier to be a big fish in a small puddle and eat up all the competition. That's a weird metaphor. It's much easier to be the big fish than it is to be the tiny fish in the massive puddle. It's easier not to get lost. Retail giants dominating the large share of the market. That's always going to be the case. That's what I say. If you're selling on Etsy, basically, if you want to sell a ring, you're not going to show up in Google for rings like Tiffany, H. Samuels. There's places that are already known for that. That is why something like this is a good thing for Etsy, because people are coming to Etsy hopefully not wanting the same thing that a big company can provide for them. They're looking for something different. So don't try and compete with the retail giants. 16% failed because of lack of customer service. Again, that's honest. You don't need to hire staff for that. Customer service should be something that you're doing definitely for the small to medium term until you get very, very big. And with customer service, don't take things personally. I understand. I make custom work quite a lot of time, and sometimes it can take me days to build up to actually want to message the customer to show them what I've made for them because I'm expecting bad bad reviews from them. But when I do, generally they're okay. But if there's a nasty one, I have to step back and just be okay. Rather than reading the tone, I have to look at the words and do they have a point? What can I help them with? Quite often, people, it reads like a really nasty thing, but it's only a tiny little change that needs made. It's only a tiny little thing that I have to do, and I offer revisions. So I can get someone go, no, 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 that's nothing like my dog, that sculpture you made. It's terrible, it's terrible. That spot is a third too big and needs to be over to the right slightly. I'm like, I can fix that easily. But it's wound me up, so I have to calm myself down. Other times you get people go, wow, that's amazing, that's the best thing I've ever saw, you're such a wonderful talent, but could you just change this and this and this and this and this? And they want tons and tons of things changed, but you feel better about it because they were nice to you. But you have to not take that personally. Poor team, inadequate knowledge of how to drive e-commerce. Well, most of us, our team is ourselves. So poor us, poor understanding of how to drive e-commerce. So many of the 14% of these shops are failing because they didn't understand this. And most of us, when we start Etsy, don't understand this poor knowledge. So be aware you don't know what you don't know when you start up. And this is the one thing that I'm trying to get out of this video, if I can, is it's unlikely you're going to do great just now. But that doesn't mean you've failed. It just means you've got things to learn, and it's going to take time. But if this is something you really want to do, if this is your passion, if this is what you enjoy, stick with it. If you're looking for a quick buck and just want to copy people and make thousands of sales, this channel's not for you. That's all I can say. 11% said they failed because of product mistiming. Yeah, so there's some data. I have some more. For those of you that follow me, you will know that I keep track of the quarterly results from Etsy. We've got one coming out in a couple of weeks. I'm interested to see what that's going to be because the market's not been talking nicely about Etsy. But I calculate based on that so we can find out the average GMS per seller and everything. GMS is how much has been sold on Etsy. So my quick calculation for the whole of 2023, guess how much the average is. If you take the GMS, how much was sold on Etsy, divide it by the number of sellers, the number of active sellers that Etsy reports. In the comments, let me know what you think that was. An average yearly wage you can, well, it's not even a wage, is it? Because that's before your costs come out. But an average for the year of what's been made. So if you've made more than this, you're well above the curve. Have you put that in your comments? Let's see if you're right, because for the whole year, it was $1,456. It's not a lot. Now, you will say to me, but Pam, there's a ton of sellers who don't make any sales. Absolutely there is. Not I can't remember what Etsy told us was an active seller that they count in this thing. Someone can let me know. But this is definitely not dormant shops who were open 20 years ago and haven't done anything. And also we have the shops that have massive turnovers. So somewhere in the middle, the realistic expectation is really, 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 really low. It's really tiny. Anyway, I could rant on about this for ages. I've done 30 minutes, and I know being an elderly grandma woman, as I've been told I was, being an elderly grandma, I know that the youth of today, who I hoped were beyond age, gender, shaming, I thought you'd risen above that. Anyway, that's our thing. That's our generation thing, to be awful to people. But anyway, I know the youth of today don't have the attention span, apparently. I know you'll do. So everyone who's made it to the end of this video, thank you so much. It was a bit of a weird one. I have hopefully got some facts and figures in there and a little bit of ranting and a little bit of life experience from the old lady. Hope that helps, and I'll see you next time.